And for the next few months, every time I went to visit my grandfather when he got out of the hospital, um, you know how Archie Bunker, All in the Family, he had his chair? I don't know how it is nowadays, but back in the day, like your grandparents or whatever, that they had their chair. Like grandpa sat in this chair, grandma sat in that chair, and you don't sit in their chairs, and you do it out of respect, actually. I mean, kids nowadays don't have the respect. They don't realize that's grandpa's favorite spot. They'll just sit there. I mean, back in the day, you respected your grandparents and you associated visiting them with grandpa's chair, grandma's chair. So I would go to visit, and I would never sit in grandma's chair. And just sitting there visiting my grandfather always gave me I don't want to say the heebie jeebies, but there was the sense of loss because I'm visiting my grandfather and my grandmother is not there in her chair. And I had some guilt because I had been visiting my grandmother in the hospital. And the one day that I decided, I actually was kind of pissed, like, oh my God, I got to go to the hospital. I got to go to the hospital. And say, no, you know what? I'm not going to go today. It's just, no, I'm not going to go. And then she died. So the day I decided, I went 3 weeks straight. And the day I decided not to go was the day she died. So I had a ton of guilt. A ton of guilt. So when I would visit my grandfather, I made it a point, and I was in college at the time. I came home every single weekend for 6 months to visit my grandfather. I drove from Kent State to home every weekend just to visit him. One weekend I drove home and I had this, you know what? I got a girlfriend. I got things to do. I just don't feel like going and visiting him. I mean, it became, it felt like a chore, and that's a terrible thing for me to admit, but it's kind of the way I felt. And I always would visit him like Saturday afternoon. And that Saturday, I blew him off. I totally blew him off. And I felt guilty about it all day, but I'm like, I just don't feel like going. And then I came home from a date because I stayed at my parents' house when I was in college. I came home from a date on Saturday night, and as I went to bed, my mom said, we talked to Grandpa, and we're going to go take him out for dinner tomorrow, meaning Sunday. And I remembered being like, oh, okay. All right, we're going to see him tomorrow. This guilt that I was feeling about not wanting to go see him, it was going to be taken care of. We're going to see him tomorrow. And I remember falling asleep as I'm falling asleep because it was late, like probably 1 a.m. As I'm falling asleep, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to be able to go see him. And I'm not gonna disappoint him because we're gonna see him tomorrow. Next thing I know, as I'm waking up the next morning, I'm hearing a phone call in the house, and there's something wrong with my grandfather. So we drive there. It was like maybe 10 minutes away, and we drive there, and there was a squad there, and we get there, and when we get there, they say that he had died. And he had died in his chair. So I already had this chair fixation about my grandparents in their chair, and he literally died in his chair. And I did get a chance to see him. They had put him down on a that's the first time I think I saw a dead person. It was my grandpa. And I just felt so guilty that I had let my grandma down. On the day that she died, I didn't go to see her, even though she was sick in the hospital. Now, there was no indication that there was anything wrong with my grandfather, but I felt so much guilt because maybe if I had gone and saw him when I normally did, maybe he would have said, oh, I'm not feeling well, or my heart hurts or something like that, and I could have done something. So I literally felt like I was responsible for his death because I would have been the last person to see him if I visited him and then he had still died in his chair. But he had died at some point that evening. I mean, literally, he might have died and I might even have been there when it happened. So I felt terrible. Just this tremendous guilt. So my family, they started cleaning out the house and getting rid of things, and the typical things that you do when the people are now passed away.